possibility of our own TPP, aka the toilet paper project of some sort. So I just wanted to bring that up again and see where the discussion goes.
Okay, so that's very solid at a Thursday date. To answer Jeff's question, I think we need to spend a little time just giving Kyle, and maybe others, just a little bit of insight into the TPP that he may not know of, and it's often easier for somebody to explain it than to go and dig it out of the internet. But go ahead, a little bit of background.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you all know, similar, just in the basics, it's like 600 corporate representatives negotiating in secret, and these are not people who have our best interest in mind. Some has come through leaks and through WikiLeaks, and there's also a lot of insidious messaging. They say these things have high standards, but there's really no clear reason to believe that they do. And one of the scariest things is like the investor state provisions, where if a company that has at least an address in another country has invested in an area, say to mine or drill or whatever, and that area decides to create or already has an environmental law saying, like Costa Rica is in something right now with NAFTA where they're being sued because a company has already invested to mine gold in an area. So Costa Rica is saying, no, you can't mine here. Technically, they're infringing on their profits, looking at it through the eyes of what this is. They're infringing on their profits by making laws. And they could technically be sued by like a secret tribunal. I mean, it sounds like science fiction, but feel free to jump in.
Can I give an example of that? There's something that just came up that I read about. Bayer, B-A-Y-E-R, they make the aspirin out of Germany, also make pesticides. And those of us who are aware that there has been a decrease in the bee population because of pesticides, the Europeans are trying to put a stop to these pesticides that are killing off the bee populations, which of course will kill off the fertilization of fruits and nuts that we eat. I mean, it's part of the environmental structure there. So, but then what they're going to do, Kyle, is, they're going to take this to court in Europe. And of course, they've been used to a certain amount of profits for their pesticides. And now this is cutting into their pesticide profits. And the way what's going to happen with the TPP, it's an in-house judicial system. It's a court with lawyers representing, okay? And they're going to go in there and make a case that, you took, to the country, you've taken away our profits, and so your country is bound to pay for that loss. And this is what's going on. This is going on right now in Europe regarding bear and the bee population. So this is just a further, it's going to be more strongly codified in law in the TPP. And what they've been finding is that the judges on these courts, this is in-house, and the lawyers that go in there go back and forth between each other. A lot of these lawyers are corporate lawyers representing Bayer or the GMO industry or whatever. And there is no appeal process. In this country, at least we have the illusion that, we just take it to a higher court, we might get some justice. But these are all just right within the treaty itself, and it's pretty much, like Ellen pointed out, is 600 corporations that are making the rules, who have no concern for the safety regulations of countries, the environmental, the financial, whatever. It's all to serve their own interests. Ethan and then Ryan.
Yeah, so this business, it's kind of mind-boggling to me. Costa Rica is one of the best, most progressive governments in Central America, and they've protected their environment and made money off of it via ecotourism. And the idea that corporations, I don't know what court they're going to, but can override national sovereignty in this way, and of course the gold mining is very toxic, and it's like what's destroying the Amazon. So very intelligently, they don't want it, and it's unbelievable that they're able to supersede national sovereignty in that way.
Roger and then Jeffrey?
Just to comment on the organizing effort, there's so many different groups in the country that are opposed to NAFTA and TPP for the same reasons they opposed NAFTA. All of those people need to be brought into the struggle. In fact, some of us went to the protest at the Korean consulate on Friday for the mass firing and incarceration of Korean railroad workers. And one of the main themes of that demonstration was TPP. So there are so many different groups that are familiar with what NAFTA, to have all the environmental damage and anti-labor activities that have resulted from NAFTA. So there are many people who will be eager to join in any kind of action, I think.
Jeffrey?
I agree entirely with what Roger said, that when you start to look at the opposition to TPP, immediately you see that it's international, and that it's empowering what we call extraction capitalism, in which you look not at the people, you look not at the landscape, you just look at the natural resources and you go for it so that you can get a profit for your corporation. And all those forces, democratic forces, environmental forces, common logic, anything, you're seen as your enemy. You want to have a legal right to extract from Mother Earth that which can give you a profit. And it's just anathema to everything that we believe in terms of democracy, in terms of protection of the environment, in terms of social justice. So at its worst, it is the triumph of trade over everything. And it's not just trade between people. It's the 1% that control those corporations stuffing their pockets with the riches of the earth, and everybody else go to hell, period.
Yeah. Roller skate economy, that's called.
It's just terrible in terms of fast-tracking the destruction of humanity, of the planet, of democracy, of everything. It couldn't be worse, in my opinion.
Okay, back to Ellen.
One of the metaphors of it is corporate nationhood instead of corporate personhood. So yeah. As far as the action specifics, I think January 2nd would be way too soon.
I agree.
You know, on one hand, I like what you said last week about the theme could be like give the TPP a second thought. However, it's just too soon, I think, to pull something off, especially with New Year's coming up. There was a suggestion of January 9th for kind of like the news peg of it being the day after Fast Track is introduced, which is probably the soonest we could pull something off. And yes, there are a lot of groups who are officially opposed to the TPP, tremendous amount. As far as groups that are like specifically mainly working on it, I still would like to connect with more of those in the Bay Area and still kind of have yet to do that. There's a Facebook group, Expose the TPP California, but I think most of them are not directly here. They're sort of throughout the state. And you know, they're kind of offering like mentorship for people who are willing to be organizers in local communities. And I think some might be in the South Bay, I don't know. I mean, finding groups here would be amazing. They may have big banners we could already use. They may have, you know, art. I mean, we can copy, you know, flyers that we already have. But as far as, you know, bigger props and things, and also, you know, the wider outreach. So I guess that's sort of where we're at. Like, when do we do something? What do we do? And how connected are we with groups already working on this that could turn people out to actions in possibly a week-ish notice?
Chuck, and then myself, Amy, and George.
Well, I have an idea. If there's a way to reach all these other groups throughout California, we could do like a bus caravan you know, that starts from one end of the state and the other north and south, and then all these buses
It's a little too
caravan and
big,
start.
Chuck.
Huh?
It's a little too large.
Yeah, it is, but
Who's got
I mean,
the money?
but I mean, even these buses could have a message on it as all these people can buy all meet at one event.
What I was going to suggest was, Ellen sent out a list of a few groups, and I've contacted them myself, and I'll follow up on it. And she should probably send it out again to all of us on the listserv. And just, even if you just write a sentence to the group, letting them know that San Francisco Action Council would like to do some sort of demonstration, would you like to participate? And it's just as simple as that, it doesn't take, or you can go further into it if you like. But let's start getting into those groups that are right here and now. And I don't know if, Roger, if we could kind of go check out this Korean group, because they have a lot of invested interest in this.
Sure.
If they would like to join us too in some way, if we could even get the names, I'll email them and write something.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, we should, there are groups right now in the Bay Area that we can get to immediately rather than going on a bus trip up and down.
Well, I mean,
It's a good idea, but,
I mean, if it's possible to reach, I mean, we could create an entire big demonstration.
yeah. But it takes financing, and that's what we seem to have. Adrian and then George.
There was a woman, and I think she was originally on the California TPP Facebook page, and she also is on Mike Z's, Occupy San Francisco.
Cheyenne Barker.
Yeah, and I tried, and I don't know if it went through, but tried contacting her through Mike's page, and I don't know.
I'm one of her friends as well.
Oh,
In fact, I'm videotaping this meeting for her.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
What
because
group is
she, I don't know what group she's, but she spoke about wanting to do something early January in San Francisco regarding the TPP. But like I
How
said,
many people does she have, like how many followers does she have for her page?
I have no idea, because the first I, got.
She hasn't developed a page for this. I think it's somebody else that's actually got a page going that you were talking about.
Expose one?
Yeah. She's just wanting to help organize the event.
But you see, that's one person among several, that we can start putting it all together, just like we did the Fed Up thing. We come here on a Sunday with these groups and just start to coordinate a little bit, so that when we go in there, we've got some numbers and we've got some people who can speak. George?
Yeah, it's Ellen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Ellen makes a good point that it would be really hard to do a large event by Thursday. And so any kind of large event should be in the future. However, we have a certain amount of leverage with Nancy in town until Friday. So I think there's something we could do to make a splash that's simple. And so I would recommend a chalky pie in front of her office. It only takes 2 or 3 of us. Let's put some slogans and some things up. If she sees it and she's going to be in her office, that she sees it, that gets the ball rolling. It puts a lump in her stomach when she goes back to do whatever she's going to do with Obama and whatever and fast track. So let's start the ball rolling. In terms of a major action, I would suggest that we consider doing something on Martin Luther King Day and tying this corporate slavery for all men. This is not what he wanted. He wanted freedom for black people, white people, and everybody. So I would say let's do something on Martin Luther King Day when we can see if it can be brought up and included in some of the actions that are going to be taking place on that day in the city.
What day is that?
That's
a Monday. What's the date? 20th. Okay. Sorry, Ethan?
Well, I have a bit of a concern about Martin Luther King Day. There's going to be a lot of events. I mean, it's for remembering. And yes, he probably would have been on our side about this, but it might be seen as trying to draw attention from that. That's all. Or it might be that other people would already be doing
Well,
something.
this is a form of slavery that they're putting us onto.
I know.
I see how it relates very well to what he was always saying. Adrian?
Yeah, well, what other way, as as a remembrance, is to like have an action of what he would have done. I mean, we have all these churches and other groups that eulogize him about his past, but what about now and the future?
I'm not
Yeah.
fixed to that
I'm just-
idea. That idea is just
Yeah.
something I'm raising.
Ellen?
I think if we're looking ahead towards the 20th, then we may as well just pick the 31st, because that's like a global day of action against the TPP. The reason we were looking at before then was, the whole fast
Is
track.
that before or after they vote for fast track?
Right, that would be probably after they vote for fast track. It would be after fast track is introduced, and, sometimes bills are introduced and they just kind of
Yeah,
languish a
sometimes,
bit.
but those kind of bills are the ones that pass.
They're trying to get that through really quickly. So
Trying to fast
so
track
what
it
you're
fast.
suggesting is maybe twofold, like we plan something, we try to get all our groups together and plan something large, not quite this week, but on January 2nd, we do something, because we might as well since she's here.
We did something for the Syria thing where we had a huge banner and we were out there. There's not really a whole lot of traffic out there, but they only allow 2 people to go in there at a time. If you go into her office and you sign up the form or whatever, the complaint log or whatever it is. But they only allow 2 people to go in there at a time. So if there's like enough people out there in the front, and then everybody just takes their turn and fills out the thing for themselves to go into the office. That's what we did before for the Syrian conflict. But
So you didn't need an appointment?
no, they said that you're only limited to 2 people to go in there at the time.
Oh, wow.
So
I
go.
don't think we can get to talk to
And this is the federal building.
the federal building, yeah. On, was that 7th Street? Yeah.
Jeffrey?
And then later on that day, since we weren't getting that much traffic there, we went to the bridge in Berkeley, and we kind of did the math of, we counted how many cars were in each lane. There's 5 lanes, and then we were there for 3 or 4 hours. So it was we figured there was 100,000 cars passed by, seeing our banner. So it seems like we got a lot more exposure there than we did in front of the federal building, but it was an all-day thing, so.
I'm thinking that the plaza in front of the federal building is just a really wide open space, and that the sidewalks are all public, and if we got even a small group of 50 people on the sidewalks, and everyone has a roll of toilet paper, that I'm definitely against littering. However, I think if we called the press and we had a toilet paper extravaganza with clear messaging and big signs, that it's the kind of thing that the press would cover just because it's bizarre. And we would have the chance of making a dent. And I think our weakest point is nobody knows what the hell TPP is, period. So that's what we're really up against. And we were up against that with the Fed. People go, what is this? And we make a tiny dent. And I think that we could do that on the 2nd. We could do it anytime we want to. And first we should get some allies. And we get some signs, we make some signs, and we have one flyer, and we simply show up, and all together at a certain time, we just throw toilet paper up in the air, and the commitment obviously is to clean it up. But, we try to make a statement, and I think that is the spirit of Occupy. It's confrontational, it's informational, it's dramatic, and we clean the whole thing up. But hopefully we would get press, and hopefully we would get Nancy Pelosi's attention. I think she already knows about this. I think that all of the people making the fast-track decisions know all about it. They know about the opposition to it, and they don't give a damn, period. So you were saying that there's only an attitude difference or a facial expression of the difference between petitioning and demanding. But I think there's a world of difference when the rejection of the government is a part of our message, that you people have your interests, and they happen to coincide, then they don't coincide with the people's interests or the environmental interests at all, and you really make that clear. I don't think that's the same as petitioning,
Yeah.
but I do see your point.
Yeah.